Hello, I'm Archie Luxury and welcome to the Archie Luxury program. Today I want to talk about a philosophical question, and that question is, when is enough enough? How much luxury do you really need in your life? And this is a question that I've been thinking about. I mean, let's be honest there. 2011, well, the economy was really in the shitter. A lot of people have been doing it very tough. And I've been thinking to myself there, I've got a modest, humble luxury collection, and could I perhaps get greater satisfaction in helping people instead of having this hoard of baubles and possessions? And it's an interesting thing. I mean, you look at yourself in your life and you think to yourself, geez, you've been fortunate, you've bought things well, and you've bought a few pieces, and you've got some beautiful material things, but do they really make you happy? What is happiness in life? And it's something I've been contemplating, and I've kind of been thinking about it. And it's a question. You sort of say to yourself, well, how much do you really need? And how much is enough? When do you stop? And this is obviously the Archie Luxury channel. I mean, people are tuning in here because they want to see luxury. They don't want to see, the Archie mediocre collection. They want to see luxury, and they want to hear talk about luxury items and things like that. There, so it's a very interesting thing, and I think in the forthcoming year, I think the economy is going to get worse. And how has that affected prices? Well, I would have thought with the economy hitting the shitter, prices would become lower. And in some cases they have, but in many cases they've stayed high. And I've spoken to a few good contacts that I have, and I've said, why haven't luxury prices fallen? And the reality is, even though prices are actually prices have come down for many things. For luxury items, there's still a huge demand from them, and a lot of that demand is coming from China. And I've got I'm a bit of a wheeler dealer. I buy and sell a few pieces, and I wanted to buy some new Rolexes. I love sapphire men's Rolexes. That's what I tend to buy. I think they're a great investment, and I haven't been able to buy any because I had some buyers who went to Hong Kong and went to Japan, and they're telling me the Chinese have bought out the market, and this is what's happening. Prices are not coming down, as we would expect in a recession, and it's strange. Other things have hit the shitter. Real estate's really hit the skids, and you look at some of the prices in America. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just some of the cars, luxury cars for sale at prices. It's just absolutely amazing. And, it sort of comes to, you say to yourself, well, how much is enough? And I think you've got to decide yourself how much stuff you need is your own decision there. And the other side of the coin is, I mean, if you've got a bit of a luxury collection or a bit of a luxury fetish there, I mean, who does it really hurt? If you decide to put money into some items for the future, well, that's just good and dandy. I mean, who's to say you're wrong to have that desire? And I think myself, in coming times, I think a lot of things are going to hit the shit. A lot of things like real estate, luxury cars. I think second-hand values of luxury cars is going to fall tremendously, and but quality luxury goods, I think, is going to hold its own. I don't see it, the arse falling out of it so soon. I mean, sure, there will be cases where people have been desperate and they've sold a 1 carat diamond ring for $1,000 because they were so desperate, but those sort of stories will be few and far between. And I think the Chinese will take up the void, whatever void is left there. And I've been trying to restock and get some Rolex Sapphire Datejusts, and it's just very hard to get good stock. And I see that because the Chinese end of the market is still very, very strong, and it's growing. And I think in luxury goods itself there, the thing is, is that it's something that's always wanted. Quality things are always wanted, and this is the whole point. You buy pieces well, you buy good pieces at a good price, and you'll always get your money back. And that's what, true luxury pieces are. I wouldn't say you go and pay retail. Retail, you're never going to get your money back if you've bought things at retail prices. But if you've bought them at the discounted second-hand prices, they should relatively hold their own there. How much is enough, and when do you stop? Well, that's something you have to decide yourself there. I mean, I can't tell you. It's very wrong for me to preach and say, look, you should only have this many or how many. The interesting thing is, years ago, many people only had one watch. It wasn't really. It was considered, vulgar to have a collection or multiple, type things. That was something you kept to yourself. And this is the whole thing with luxury, is that the age we live in now, we've never been so rich, and this is why people now can have collections. A person like ArchieLuxury, who's really quite middle class, can have quite a reasonable collection, and I'm certainly not well off in any stretch of the imagination there. And this is the wonderful thing. If you have a hobby like watches and you buy good pieces, you can make some money out of it. Sometimes with my collection there, I've thought to myself, well, geez, I could sell off the most of my watches, keep one or two nice pieces, and flick the rest, and buy a beautiful classic car. And even with the Louis Vuitton, I thought, well, I'll keep one or two briefcases and a couple of handbags for the wife, and flick the rest. And that's a hard decision to make. Sometimes you look at things and you think, geez, is it giving you maximum enjoyment in life? And obviously the upkeep of a classic car is going to be a hell of a lot more than keeping some watches in a bank safe. But it's more the enjoyment factor. That's something you've got to factor in. So you've got to make those luxury goods give you maximum utiles of pleasure. Just collecting watches, I've tried to diversify the collection into luxury goods, and you can see I've got some beautiful Cartier clocks. So that's a beautiful object to have and behold there. I've got some gorgeous Louis Vuitton. We've got a fair bit of travel luggage. That's the hard case suitcases and the perfume bag. I've got the collection of men's briefcases, and my wife has got her collection of ladies' handbags and things like that there. So what I've tried to do is, instead of just collecting just wristwatches or just this, I've tried to make it more of a collection of luxury items there. And in the watches itself there, I've gone for some really iconic pieces. I've gone for a Patek. I've gone for a Patek Calatrava. I've gone for a Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. I've gone for an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, a Rolex Explorer, Omega Speedmaster. These are just iconic, lovely pieces, and it gives you a bit of variety and a bit of difference there in the collection, and I think that's what it's about. It's not just hoarding things, but it's using the things and having some gorgeous objects of beauty in your life there, and that's that gives me much more pleasure than just hoarding things. And with a lot of pieces there themselves, they're timeless things, and they're things that will last for years. So I don't think you have to necessarily have every different variation of one particular watch. I think I like to have more of a general type collection. So I'm really more of a luxury goods collector than just a watch collector or just a Louis Vuitton collector. And we've also got our jewelry collection. That's just a great thing to have and behold there. Now, the philosophical question is, when is enough, and what is enough? Well, that's something you have to come to terms with yourself. I suppose, with our collection there's no frantic rush there. This year's the economy's been very tight, so I'm very slowly buying. I'm not in a mad frantic rush to acquire a whole stack of pieces. I will add pieces to it slowly, but it's kind of just add one or two good pieces a year in each different section. That's probably more than enough to add to it. And Look, the thing is this, you've only got a. We can't live forever. I wish I could take the luxury things with me, but unfortunately, that's not the case. Occasionally, you sort of you have things you think, well, geez, maybe I should just cash it all in. But look, the good thing about having some beautiful things is that the best advice I can give you is if you are thinking of cashing out your collection, just don't do anything for a month. Just have a think about it, and I usually come around and say, yeah, actually, well, I do. I don't really want to get rid of that those pieces or scale it down too much, and that's probably the best advice to have there. So how much is enough is enough? Well, I think it's I think that's something you've got to decide, but it's I like to, instead of just having one area of focus, I like to have multiple areas. So it's more of a luxury lifestyle. So when the piece stops being useful to you, then it's time to get rid of it. But I think realistically, the economy's in the shitter. It's going to be a lot worse there. The funny thing is, luxury itself there seems to defy some of the huge big downturns there. It does drop off a fair bit, but it still holds its own, and it's interesting to see what does happen with them. But I think myself there, if you are looking for some bargains, unfortunately they're a bit few and far between. There have been some really good Louis Vuitton bargains I've seen. Like some of the hard case items, they're quite rare and hard to get. But again, you've got to keep an eye out and just be on the ball to snag any bargains that come up there. So then I suppose that poses the question: when is enough enough? Well, I suppose in my collecting circles there, let's have a look at the different collections there. In my wristwatch collection, what else am I after? Well, I think I probably want to add a diving type watch to the collection there. I think that's something that's missing, is a good diver's watch. I also want to add another Vacheron down the track there, or another Patek. So that's long term, because they're mega expensive type things, and I've got a beautiful Calatrava as it stands, but I'm thinking, maybe way down the track, maybe a World Time or some sort of complicated Patek would be lovely. But in the short term, some sort of diving Submariner, no date would be fantastic, or a Sea Dweller, something like that, some sort of diving watch. I suppose with the ladies' watch collection there, I'm actually quite happy with that. I'm happy with my Cartier clock collection. I'm actually reasonably happy with that. I've got a few there. With our jewellery collection itself, I'd probably, I got the lovely pearls and South Sea pearls, of course. None of this fucking freshwater crap. I'd kind of possibly want to add a nice white South Sea pearl set to that there. That'd be a great thing. That's not on the immediate horizon. That's just down in the distant. But I suppose and a couple of more diamonds would never hurt. But we've got some good pieces, so I'm reasonably content with that there. In the Louis side of things, well, I've kind of changed my opinion a lot. Hard case luggage and that there, it's difficult to use. It's really not something you can just. It's not that easy to use, and hard case items are getting a little bit out as far as briefcases go. That style sort of very much getting a little bit out. Mind you, it's classic. It'll never go out completely. You could always pull it off with LV. But what am I yearning for? Well, I'd like to get some sort of Damia hard case item, whether it's a briefcase, hard case briefcase in Damia, or an Elza or a Biston. That's something I'd really like to have as a Damia. Not necessarily the graphite, actually the traditional Damia. So that's a piece that I'd like to add to the LV collection. There, no huge rush there. So that's probably, that sums it all up there. Yeah. So there's a few little areas I'd like to add to it, but yeah, I'm reasonably content with it there. I've kind of if you don't, the other side of the coin is if you don't desire anything else, that's when you're dead as a collector. If they don't bring you happiness. This just defies. What's the point in having them? But yeah, that's my view there. I mean, sometimes look, I go through moods where I think, geez, do I really need this stuff? Maybe I could sell it off and do something better with the money. But then again, I think to myself, geez, it's that they're a great thing. They're an heirloom thing. I love them, and they're great things to have. I suppose sometimes if you get so used to having beautiful luxury things, you don't appreciate how difficult it is to actually have them and how much sacrifice has gone into them. So yeah, I suppose that's something to consider it there. Tell me what you think. What is enough? When is enough? When do you stop? What's enough pieces to have? I mean, that's a great question to have. I mean, I've seen some of the Arab collectors, and they've got one of everything, and I certainly that's a hell of a lot of stuff to have there. But just thinking about your own collections, what limits do you place on it? How do you know when to stop? What is enough? What what piece is the exit piece where you don't have to buy any more pieces? And give me your opinions. Tell me the dilemmas that you've faced. I mean, I'm not a moral oracle who's got all the answers. I mean, I'm a collector who's fought long and hard to build a humble collection, and I'm looking for some guidance there. It's a bit spiritual. You look at your collection, you think, geez, when is enough, and the economy is terrible. I mean, it's just I just can't believe how bad it is. The funny thing is, I thought a lot of these luxury goods would go through the floor, and I before the economy really hit the shit, I sort of thought, well, do I sell out before the shit has hit the fan, or do you hold? And I thought, no, I like him. I'll hold. And the very interesting thing is, I said to a good friend of mine, he was going to Japan. I said, hey, if you can get a Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grand, any Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso Grand Date, the Sun Moon, any nice big Jaeger-LeCoultre in steel, snap it up, I'll take it. He couldn't find anything. I mean, those sexy stunners, the really sexy watches, they're just, like a Jaeger-LeCoultre grand size. No, they're just not available. Even sports Rolex is getting hard to get in Japan because of the Chinese coming in and buying a lot of pieces. And that's okay. That's supply and demand. It's economics. If people want it, they'll buy it, and that's how it goes there. But looking at your collection and saying, what is enough? When do you stop, and when do you draw the line? That's what I'm doing a bit of soul searching at the moment. So please tell me your opinions there. And the other thing is too, Patek will always have a market. Even things like the Omega Speedmaster Professional, that's just a classic iconic watch. You'll always have that's always got a market. It's just a beautiful piece, and buying lovely pieces, you'll always be able to get rid of them. You may not get the huge high profit on it, but if you've bought them well secondhand, you can get out of them. And this is my wife's steel Datejust with the white gold bezel. I had an offer on it, but I couldn't replace it. There was nothing. There was no two-tone or steel Rolexes with sapphire that I could honestly buy, which would allow me to replace it and make a buck. So, the market's a strange place, and let's see what 2012 holds in store for us there. It's going to be very, very interesting, and I've got my own moral dilemmas. Do you get out of a collection? What do you do when you've invested so much time? I mean, I've made a lot of sacrifices to buy the collection. It means I haven't gone on some fancy holidays. I haven't flown at the front end of the plane when I should have at times. Things like that. And that's the sacrifices old Archie's made. And obviously the Archie Luxury channel here, this gives me a lot of fulfillment. I like producing these videos, and I like to hear comments from my fans and viewers. So please keep those coming, and let me know when is enough. Give me some opinions, and I want to hear from you. Thank you very much. I'm Archie Luxury.